Nowadays, problem solving has evolved. In the past, we have learned that problem solving are always a good skill to solve problems in a very strategically way because of technology and because the whole involvement of cybersecurity. We need to move a little bit that problem solving skill and elevate it to think adversarial. Today, we're going to talk about adversarial thinking in the Hacker's Corner. Welcome. Hi everybody, welcome back. My name is Servín and I'm a professor here at El Paso Community College. I teach computing classes as well as I oversee some programs in Hack the Border, which talking about Hack the Border, we'll talk about a little bit today. But before that, I want to thank everybody coming here to the Hacker's Corner. We are very happy to be back and discussing the adversarial thinking perspective of the entire show. As you remember, we host something called Hack the Border. I know there's a lot of different hacking out there, but the idea here is to create or to train ethical hackers that helps the community to solve problems in an ethical way, in the positive and good way for the border good. As a matter of fact, the title of the program is called Hack the Border, Adversarial Thinking for the Border Good, which means that we train our students, our community partners to solve situations that really impact the region of El Paso, Las Cruces, and Ciudad Juarez. And today, we're going to talk about one main topic that is essential in the understanding of Hack the Border. But before that, let me just let you know that we're hosting Hack the Border 4.0, the Binational Hackathon. So we're very happy to bring back our signature event, Hack the Border 4.0. It will take care this November 20th and 21st in the AST building here at El Paso Community College by Verde campus. As you can see right here in the screen, we have a bunch of events. In the past, we have three-day event, and this time we're gonna have it only for 2 days. It's gonna be the Thursday and the Friday, but at the same time, you don't have to wait to come here and participate. You can go to the link that you see right here and start the competition. As a matter of fact, it's a two-part competition. Part one is when you need to build a product, adversarial product, where you can solve a solution. You can solve a problem by providing a solution that will be one part of the percentage of the competition. And the second part will be capturing the flag. As you can see right here, Capture the Flags are one of the most exciting events, experiential learning events, where you and your friends go and compete to get points. Capture the Flags, we've been having a couple of villages or a couple of tracks, if you may. But this year, we're going to have Hack the City. Hack the City, it was last year, we started with a pilot. But this year, we have a full 5 challenges where you can go to a small piece of El Paso, Texas, downtown, and solve real-world problems. So we have a team that has been working very hard to come up with these challenges about what is happening in El Paso, Texas, downtown. And again, you might think, oh, it's only a competition. Well, you will be surprised that some of those challenges comes from real-world data. And we're very lucky to have all these sponsors that you see in the screen that they've been contributing to this Hack the Border. So all these partners, they've been contributing in Hack the Border for the past years. And we're very happy to bring Hack the City this year as the full implementation of El Paso downtown. We're very excited about this. And talking about adversarial thinking, today we're going to talk about how adversarial thinking is very important as a skill. And in the past, as you remember, we've been having guests here in the Hacker's Corner that they talk about the adversarial aspect every time that we solve problems, every time that we consider new technology or emerging aspects. But at the same time, what is adversarial thinking and why we are so obsessed And in teaching that thing, Carol says, it's not an obsession, it's something natural. And we'll talk about why, Carol, why you think it's an obsession. And it is essential because right now, I don't have to tell you, if you go to your favorite newsletters or the news that happened today, at least 2 or 3 news are impacting about how attackers are filtering or attacking a system. And it's been not only, unfortunately, very expensive in terms of monetary, but also exposes people's identities, credit cards, social security numbers, and it's not nice at all. So when we developed this Hack the Border, we thought, like, well, we need to start teaching or start training our students, our graduates, our community, bring awareness about these attacks, but also we want them to train ethical hackers. And we have heard this in many different perspectives. Ethical hacker is that you recognize the big challenge that is happening right now. And you don't just want to patch it. You want to come up with solutions from the get-go that allows you to think adversarially before you deploy a solution. And that's a problem. As a matter of fact, that is a challenge in education across the globe. It's not only in El Paso, it's everywhere in the world. We have these situations, and unfortunately it has become more and more popular because there's a lot of information that is not being properly developed. So that's why we want to talk today about adversarial thinking. So the objective is to explore adversarial thinking as a foundational skill that enhances critical thinking through problem solving. And in high school and of course in your classes, you probably learn about problem solving. And problem solving is very simple. You have some input, you have some constraints, and you want some output eventually. And those constraints actually is when you put all your creativity. I was talking to Liz and to Carol before coming here, and we recognize that creativity is very important. As a matter of fact, it's essential. And when we talk about adversarial thinking, you bring creativity because you want to understand not how you think, how you've been prepared in school about how to solve problems, but you need to be more creative. You need to understand how your enemy will work. What is your set of enemies or a set of not good friends? Think about how to hack a program. And again, I shouldn't say the word hacking because the word hacking, we're trying to do a solution. So an attacker comes from outside of your organization, outside of your institution, outside of the group of friends. Unfortunately, sometimes comes inside of your group of friends. And not only that, sometimes comes from you. Yeah, that's true. When you are developing a solution, you always think how the other people will think, but in reality, how do you think? And what makes you think that you don't have a logic challenge or a logic constraint? So what is adversarial thinking? And I already tell you that it's a skill. It's a skill that in education, we're trying to infuse. When you develop a program, when you find a solution, is not the ultimate solution. You need to come up with a solution that entails a lot of perspectives. When you ask Granny for 2 numbers, Granny, give me 2 numbers so I can divide them. Give me the first number, the number 10. Give me the second number, the number 2. Oh, it's very easy. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And she will tell you, good job. I mean, I love the education at community college. But how about if you ask Granny, Granny, give me 2 numbers, 10. Give me the second number, 0. What happens if you divide 10 divided by 0? So Granny will say, aha, I got you there. So you will say, oh, that's infinite, because you have great high school teachers that they tell you any number divided by 0 is infinity, which is debatable, by the way. But in reality, when you create a program that runs in a store and those situations happen, it's not that you're anticipating the good input from your customer, from Granny, from your friends. Sometimes they give you that input wrongly. It can be by mistake or it can be on purpose. And that's where we need to understand that adversarial thinking comes from multiple directions. So when we develop adversarial thinking inside of programming, by the way, I teach computer programming, computer science, and the first thing is that we teach you how to interact with the computer user. It can be anyone, right? But also when you get that information, how do we process them? And then eventually, how do you put it in a cell phone, on a mobile device? And that is the process when we need to start thinking, what is the worst case it can happen? And of course, we have a claim and that adversarial thinking goes beyond cybersecurity, because when we develop software, we care about secure software and robustness and reliable. And you don't have to be a cybersecurity expert to think about that. I think you just want to build strong, reliable, and robust software. And that goes beyond that, but also makes you think more critically. Now, of course, I have a couple of, if we can see here in the screen, I will show you about a game that everybody knows that has been there for centuries, which is the rock, paper, and scissors. And we have a small demonstration at EPCC. Our team developed a game using adversarial thinking and based on this rock, paper, and scissors. And of course, you know this game from childhood. And of course, if you're a big fan of this new shows, they're been amplifying the game in a different matters. But it's very simple. When you have a player, you always think about rock, paper, scissors, and here is how you win the possible configurations. If you have paper, paper wins rock. When you have scissors, scissors wins paper, and rock wins scissors. And that's a very naive configuration. But what happens is that when we start to develop adversarial thinking, we always have this psychological factor, and that also reflects on cultural factor, especially if you know some of your friends and their behavior and what's happening. When after you play this game, you start realizing, well, the first one that wins 2 out of 3 wins the entire game. The question is when you have something called status quo. And I don't know if you know, when status quo hits, is that you are in the same perspective as your adversary or your attacker or your friend or your enemy. And when you hit that situation, we need to start thinking adversarial. What will be the next possible situation when we can defeat our opponent? And it's not easy. I know it's an easy game, but this entails a lot of probabilities. As a matter of fact, when you have probabilities, people usually freak out a little bit because they say, oh, probabilities are very hard. They're not very hard. It's just an accumulation of possible outcomes and samples based on some previous expected values. And we built a diagram, we built a decision tree set basically giving these accommodations. And again, you might think, Professor, you're spending an enormous amount of time and effort just for a silly game. But at the same time, we recognize that many of these games help us to interact with real-world problems. As you can see right here, this is a data structure that was built based on the decision-making of who is winning what. And it's only 3 possible outcomes, and look the complexity of the possible outcomes that you can get. This means one thing. It means that once you have an attack into a system, your system needs to react on that. And for years, and we've been talking in the program about what is this defensive programming. Well, defensive programming helps you to understand when you get attacked, how can you ameliorate that issue. You get hit, that is true, but how can you recover from that thing? Now, every second counts, and in computing it's even worse because you talk about nanoseconds where you need your system to recover. So this type of game not only helps you to understand what will be the possibilities that an attack can take, but also how are the possibilities to recover based on a situation. And that is game theory. You probably remember a couple of those movies like Beautiful Mind, is where Professor Nash was a very well-recognized mathematician and also Nobel Prize in economics, provide what we call the Nash equilibrium. And Nash equilibrium is one of the principles that we teach here in our programs to help us to understand when is the optimal solution, when we can have the best optimal position where you have an attacker and a defender and can actually have a balance of things. So we do use game theory in adversarial thinking, and adversarial thinking has been infused in many computing courses at EPCC. As a matter of fact, if you see right here on your screen, what we've been doing in computer science is that we have a couple of courses in computer programming. Computer science, by the way, these are the ones that transfer to a 4-year institution like UTEP or NMSU or Solvros. And we not only teach you how to do programming, how to use critical thinking, but we also infuse adversarial thinking in our degrees. This because we know that you want to go and transfer to get your computer science bachelor's or baccalaureate or a master's degree, but also you're probably gonna have some resilient skills, which are adversarial thinking, because everything deals with adversarial thinking and artificial intelligence these days. So that's what you see right here. This is the degree plan where computer science we have is it's a fantastic program. We have CS1, CS2, and CS3, but this course that you see right here is called Introduction to Programming through Adversarial Thinking and Analytics. And let me tell you why. In previous episodes, we talk about data analytics and the importance of analytics. Well, guess what? Data science, that's how it started, becomes data analytics because we have a lot of data and then we bring them into the conversation in order to make decisions. Well, data analytics now is morphing, is transforming to AI analytics. Why? Because the data that we've been collecting, we need natural language processing to deal with that. And that's where you use your ChatGPT, your Claude, and all those different activities, tools, in order to do this natural language processing through prompts. We call it the prompts. But also we need computer vision, some visualization perspective. And that's where we show you through something called Google Colab. And Google Colab is amazing because it's completely free, powerful technology, and everything is artificial intelligence based. And here you can see a couple of screenshots that we had in terms of Google Colab and the visualizations. Not only that, we also have data processing, and the data processing piece helps them to help the students not only to provide a good visualization, but good reports that are meaningful. So this topics that you see right here, you can find it in something called 1315, CAE-C 1315. And we have that course, and it's one of the highlights that we're having in the next years. Let me just tell you a little bit more about this. We're also starting an effort, a multidisciplinary effort about storytelling. Why storytelling is so important? Well, this is the situation. We've been collecting data for the past years through your phone, through your social media, through whatever you like or you don't like or share in your favorite social media or newspaper or whatever that is digitally enclosed. So we've been providing this cleaning up aspect for the past years thanks to technology. Now, what does that tell you? Well, if you don't understand the story behind the scenes, it will be hard to basically predict what you want. And one of these authors says if you really want to predict the future is by creating them yourself. What happens is that humans, we tend to forget things. So what is not forgetting is all your data that you've been collecting. So we've been collaborating with Professor Donna Munoz from English in order to start making storytelling based on the data that we have. And as a matter of fact, we have a workshop that will be presented by Professor Munoz about storytelling and in collaboration with the computing discipline. Where did these two areas meet and what is the impact? Well, I can tell you. When you have a lot of data, you can have the data and you want to transform that data into information. And once you transform the information using algorithms or different processing, you can come up with something called knowledge. And when we have knowledge, it's easier to just come up with a story to say this is what's happening based off X, Y, and Z, all these variables. And that is the effort that we wanted to talk about that in. Well, that's great, Professor, and I'm glad that you're bringing the English department because I have taken some of those classes, and you're right. But what you haven't really seen is how important is that storytelling nowadays when they marry this data analytics / AI analytics. And this is what's happening with this multidisciplinary aspect. What about the adversarial aspect? Well, that information, it can be used for good or it can be used for not so good. When we deal with adversarial thinking in storytelling, is that when you understand how the behavior of a person or a group of people or a community or a country does, then you can start thinking strategically how to help them. And I know what you're thinking. Well, if there's people helping, probably there's other people not helping people. And that is where we need to pay more attention, because there's cyber attacks. There's also human attacks, unfortunately. And that information is very important how we represent it. So adversarial thinking helps us to do a mindset, of course, not only about how to solve a problem, but think strategically what will be the worst thing that can happen to a system, to a person, to a community. And this is what we're doing here at the college, where we're trying to infuse adversarial thinking in our computing classes. As a matter of fact, we start, as I already mentioned, in the computer science, but also we're expanding that into the cybersecurity and into the IT. So make the courses more robust, more flexible in terms of what will be the multiplicity that this generates. So I want to invite you to take some of our courses or attend to Hack the Border that will take place on November the 20th and 21st of this month. And here is the link, by the way, of Hack the Border, so you can get more information. Remember that this is a two-part event. Right now, if you go to this website, to this link that is right here on your screen, you will see the rules and the different themes in order to start building your artifact. And the artifact is basically a solution for one of the problems located there. The day of the capture the flag, you will go and with your team and then try to solve problems in Hack the City and other capture the flags. So hope to see you all there. If you have any questions, please let us know in terms of logistics and also about any questions that you have. So hopefully everybody is doing well. I want to thank everybody who has sent us emails, comments, and through the EPCC TV YouTube channel. This has been a great couple of seasons, and we're very happy to come back and to discuss adversarial thinking with you in the next shows. Please leave us a message, like some of them that you have seen right here in the screen. Also send us an email. As a professor, we understand this. Can you do something about more quantum or cloud? Something that we've been working in the past years. We can bring them back. And also, just to let you know, we're doing a lot of multidisciplinary collaborations, not inside of our disciplines, but in the region. So stay tuned with that. Again, I cannot thank enough for all of those viewers who have sent us all these different conversations and also suggestions about how to continue with the show. We're living in interesting times where we have more and more AI infusion in not only in our courses, but also in our day-by-day activities, including the workforce. So expect some of them here in the Hackers Corner. We've been in conversation with a couple of our colleagues and partners in the region, and we'll have a great season coming up in the next shows that will talk about this AI aspect along with adversarial thinking. My name is Servín. It's been great seeing you all. I wish you everybody a great view, and happy coding, everyone. See you next time.